Well, only 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Morgan Rielly and his suspension after that hit, and we were commenting on what might happen to the Leafs. And look at the Leafs. Since that time, they have won 7 in a row. Morgan Rielly is now back, and they are on a hot streak that the Leafs haven't seen in 21 years. And welcome to What Do You Know About Sports? Gary Jeffries, a former coach, Lance Roberts, former referee, and myself, Randy Steinman, former sportscaster. And wow, fellas, the Leafs, Lance, what's going on here with this hockey team? The Morgan Rielly suspension almost seems to have been a catalyst to get this team going.
Well, it's been 7 games in a row, I think, that they've won, and they haven't done that for quite a while, I think, since 10 years. But I think what happens, I mean, like we talked about before, was that when someone comes out of the lineup like that, his play generated other guys to get chances to play. And I think the way he rushes the puck a lot, there was some thought process that, caused other people to have to do different things in the game. And now they've had a lot stronger defensive structure in all the games they've been playing. And that's really been helping their goaltending also, which is always a good thing for the team. But I think overall, I think that part of it is just Austin Matthews is taking the team on his back. He's carrying it. He wants to. He's showing the way, and I mean, he's the leader on that team without a doubt. I think that I saw that John Tavares was kind of moved back down to a second line role or something. But if they get that Austin Matthews and their scores rolling like they can, Max Domi's been starting to chip in, which has helped a lot. But overall, I think their overall defensive structure has really changed a lot with Morgan Rielly out. Not to fault Morgan Rielly. I just think that now there's different direction for players to stay back a lot more. And I think that's helped the goaltending and their work in their own zone.
Yeah, I totally agree, Lance. They're certainly defensively much more responsible. And it's interesting how, it took something like Rielly being out of the lineup and for this to happen. I'm sure the message that Keefe has given that hockey team from day one is the same message. I don't think the message has changed. I just think the players, they recognize when he's out of the lineup that we have to be more responsible. We have to get back. We look back there and we see all these Marlies playing on our back end. So we have to get back. We have to help. We have to win those battles in the corner. We can't be getting out of the zone quickly, looking for the long pass up at the other blue line. We got to play in our end. And, and that's exactly what they've done for this 7-game stretch. I wonder a little bit, you tell me what you think. Like I said, the message was delivered, I'm sure, day one. Is it a little bit of coaching or is it a little bit of players not being coachable, or maybe a combination of the two, that you couldn't get them to do that before this happened with Rielly?
Well, I think Sheldon Keefe is doing a great job. I think that he's, the way he talks to the media, the way he runs that team overall, I think he's done a pretty good job in trying to get them to play in the style he wants them to play. You can see the frustration in some of the game previously to when Rielly was there, that, players being, the goaltender being left out to dry in so many situations. So I think that this put him in a position to be able to really kind of, work hard on that aspect of the game, to get them to work harder on the defensive side. And I think you're right, Gary, that message has gotten through to them.
Guys, do you think the pro teams buy into the whole it's us against the world message? Like you see it in college a lot, and you see it in high school a lot, where everybody hates us and it's us against the world. Like Deion Sanders, the playbook in Colorado right now seems to be that. But with a team like the Leafs, when they went through some adversity there 2 weeks ago with Morgan Rielly, I don't know, do professional teams and professional players buy into that as much?
They can use that. I think that happens a lot. They'll use the things that we have to do it on. We're fighting against everybody, and all that kind of things can come out in regards to Rielly being given 5 games. They probably didn't agree with it. They thought, well, let's go to work for him. Let's back him up. Let's go out there and take him on because, we're going to do this for Morgan Rielly. I think there's a lot of that went on there. I think he's well loved in that room. So I don't think that may be something also that could have happened, Randy, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it happens a little bit, Rand. I think, with the Leafs and the scrutiny that they're under by the media, I think they use that. And I think when they were struggling there before the Rielly incident, I remember Marner did an interview and he got blasted. He got blasted for it because he kind of gave that kind of answer. It's you guys are honest all the time and blah 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 and kind of it is us against you and we're playing great and leave us alone kind of thing and so I think they can use that but I don't know whatever's going on right now let's keep it up.
It's like Randy, like your reporters can kind of cut to the edge sometimes with players, and they will rally around themselves in that regard. Yeah. But I think I listen to reporters also in the sense that, it's such a thing about goaltenders and different things like that, and how they're all about, these goaltenders have to win games and stuff like that. I tell you what, it's a 5-man, it's a 6-team hockey, game with guys on the ice. They have to work together. The goaltender's only one player. He does make great saves, but if there's times if they're so wrapped up on putting different goaltenders as this guy, you look at Samsonov, he was no good at one point. Wool's no good at one point.
Yeah.
The reporters, that's such an easy target for them to go after goaltenders. And I think that when a team plays defensively structured and do the job that they have to do in their own end, goaltenders look really good at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think, sorry.
I was just going to say, a whole other topic sometime would be markets with reporters that make it hard for teams to win. And this would be a great topic sometime about how I truly believe that Canadian NHL teams, especially Toronto, suffer a bit from all the scrutiny that's placed on them by the media. And all the off-ice stuff that is going on, with reporters in the dressing room, and it makes it hard for teams to win. But we can talk about that some other time, maybe once the playoffs get here.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the one thing I give Keith credit for, he's really made some changes in playing time, and I think it's really worked. And, the reward for playing the way I want you to play is, we'll give you playing time. And if you don't play the way we want you to play, we're going to take it away. And, as Lance said, Tavares, after he came back when he was sick there, he's now playing on the third line. Yeah. Domi, who's been playing hard and not been rewarded as much as we'd like, but, he's now the second line center. The McMahon kid, he's playing more minutes, and I think that's great. They've got Brody playing on the left side, and he's playing about 18 to 20 minutes instead of 24 or 25. Same with Rielly now that he's back. He's playing about 20 and not 24 and 25. So they spread out the minutes that the kids are playing. The kids that are playing responsibly are getting more minutes. And I think it works. And I think, and the other team that we can reference that the same thing happened is Edmonton. They went on that 16-game roll, and the way they were playing was totally different than they were the way they started the season. And playing in their end was important. They got away from it here the last couple of weeks, and they're playing 500 hockey right now, but. It's something that it's imperative. It's a game, where you have to play offense and defense. It's not like football where you go out, 12 guys on offense and 12 guys on defense. This is a game where you have to play both. You can't just play one way. And I think the message has been delivered and received, and boy, it's fun to watch them right now. And they're still, we're still talking about, are we going to bring more kids in, new defensemen in? The kids they've got playing right now, if you play the right way and you help them, the kids we've got right now can go on and go on a run. And maybe we don't have to bring in, the guys we've been talking about since day one, the Hannafin and Tanev so how you play is imperative to success.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how they do in the next little while here. They've got Vegas at home tonight, and Vegas was one of the teams that they beat during this current 7-game streak. So we'll see what we do going forward here. But like Leafs critics will say, and believe it or not, there are some Leafs critics, a 7-game win streak in February doesn't mean a whole lot, especially when you've pretty much guaranteed yourselves a playoff spot already. Let's see a 7-game win streak in April, and then we'll talk, right?
The guy that's impressive right now to me is Austin Matthews. He's this kid's on fire, and he's showing the player that he wants to be for sure. He's playing really well. I enjoy watching him play right now.
And you got to give Marner a lot of credit. I tell you, he's looking for him all the time, and he's setting him up all the time, and he's really come on the last month and a half. And so don't be surprised if Marner doesn't end up leading that team in scoring by the time the season's over. He's crept up now to 5 or 6 behind Nylander and Matthews, and I love how he plays.
Yeah. Well, changing topics a little bit, there is another Toronto team that's in the news a bit right now. The Blue Jays have hit spring training in Dunedin, Florida, and we just sort of want to give some, thoughts to what we expect from the Jays this year, coming off an 89-win season. They made the wild card, but then they got swept in 2 straight by Minnesota. But Gary, what are your thoughts as this team really starts to get going here for 2024?
Well, I'm optimistic. I think that they've got the pieces there. Certainly, the starting rotation will be as good as anybody in baseball if they stay healthy, and that's always a key. And last year they certainly they were healthy all year, and those starters had great seasons, and they're all back. They're pretty much the same on the back end in terms of their relief pitching, and it was strong last year as well. So I think that that they can make some noise. Vladdy has to be the Vladdy of a couple of years ago, and not the Vladdy that we saw last year.
Yeah.
He and Bo rather. They in the middle of that lineup, they're key. And I think this Turner kid they've added, he's going to be helpful as well. He's a real pro, and apparently he's great in the dressing room. He's a real leader. He's kind of the adult. He'd be the adult in the room, I think, and I think he'll be helpful. They're loaded in infielders, and they don't have a lot of outfield depth. So I think they're going to have to add some people in the outfield and maybe unload some of the kids they've got in the infield. The signing in the off season in the infield was that kid Kiner Falefa. They got him from the Yankees. He's a kid who can play anywhere in the infield. Looks like they've got him penciled in right now at third base. It'll be interesting. I think Schneider, the manager, probably on a short leash. And I think he's known that. You got Don Mattingly sitting a few feet away. And although he's taken him to as you said, the playoff in two consecutive years, I think they're expecting this team to go further. And so it'll be interesting to see if they come out of the gate strong. There won't be any issues, but if they stumble coming out, we'll see what happens. What
are you thinking, Lance?
Spring training is a big time of year for them to get ready and stuff. So I don't know. They're key guys like that. Vladdy and Bichette and all them are still going to be in place. Like I said, I hope Jensen's back and he's going because he was pretty strong. Kirk, I guess, is Kirk back again behind the plate?
Yeah, that's their 2 catchers, Jansen and Kirk.
Yeah, so Kirk, I like him. He's a competitor. He's kind of interesting guy to watch. But I think they're going to be strong in many areas. Like you say, outfield, we'll see. But the manager, I'm not sure how his leash would probably be short, but he walks the party line with the guys who run the team there. So I don't know. I think he's got a pretty good opportunity to be there for the whole year.
Yeah. Well, the hiring of Schneider seemed to almost be more in relation to how he had managed those young guys like Vladdy and Bo in the minors. And, they apparently loved him so much and they had so much respect for him. So then when the managerial job came open with the Jays, Schneider got it. And the talk was, these kids flourished under him in the minors, and now they're going to do the same in MLB. And yeah, I mean, Bo's done great. Vladdy's been sort of off and on. But sometimes I worry a little bit that maybe those guys are a little bit too comfortable with Schneider as their manager, especially Vladdy, thinking that he can get away with stuff.
Yeah.
I'd almost rather, again, maybe I'm old school, but I'd almost rather see someone like a Sparky Anderson, or an old grizzled veteran guy like that to get these 25, 30-year-olds, get a fire lit under them and let them know that there's no room for just messing around here.
Well, the management now works under analytics, I think, a lot. They've got so many things that they look at now to analyze the game and stuff that they're utilizing to try to, make the right decisions in games. Like last year, I just felt that, pulling some pitchers at the wrong time and different things like that because of the number of pitches they've thrown, or, the analytics of what they're going to come up against. I see that a lot, not just with the Jays, but all through the league. They're always working with making these moves they think they have to make when just, sometimes just let the guy play through it and stuff, and let, the right people in the right positions do their job. But it seems like there's a lot more managing that goes on in regards to the analytics that are coming at them during, what they're looking at analytics wise for how they're managing those teams.
Yeah, I agree, Lad. The game was played for 100 years on feel and not analytics. And I think there's certainly a place for them, but there's also still a place for the situation and making a decision based on what you're seeing instead of looking at numbers. And so I do agree with that. As far as Schneider, I think if anything, he's got to make them more accountable. Right. And Vladdy is a perfect example. When he doesn't run out a ground ball, and that drives me crazy. You shouldn't be allowed to jog down to first base and get about 3/4 of the way there and turn around and come back to the dugout. That's just not how to play. So I think I'm not sure the kid his entire career has ever been held accountable. He's always been, the best player, and he's pretty much been allowed to do what he wants to do. And I'm getting a little tired of his act. I'm tired of the ice being thrown on the guy's head, and the interviews after the game. I think he got to take it a little bit more serious, a little bit more focused, and maybe he will. Maybe after last season, recognizing that he didn't have the year that anybody expected or wanted, or I'm sure that he wanted, he's got to come back and be a little bit different in terms of his approach.
What I'm looking forward to seeing is if they're going to have the umpires still call balls and strikes or not. If they just do it around that square thing they put out there to show you where the ball went over the plate or not. That ought to be something to see someday. I think that's coming, though.
I mean, that's going to be a whole other topic, too, as we move forward. Baseball umpires, more than any other sport, it feels like, especially like the home plate umpires, are just under so much scrutiny with that, that little box that they put on TV now. And, Yeah, it'll be interesting to see too this year. And again, this will be a future topic, but they've taken that pitch clock and shortened it again from 20 seconds between pitches to 18. Like they're minor tinkering now, but it's 2 extra seconds. But that'll be another topic moving forward here.
Is that the rule for this year, Randy? Is it down to 18 for?
I believe it is. Yeah, with runners on base, Gary. With runners on base, I think it's down to 18. It might still be 20 when there's no one on base, but they have shortened it even more. And what's interesting is, they wanted to shorten the games, just make the games go quicker, and they did that. They took the average time from 2 years ago and shortened it by 24 minutes a game last year, which that's remarkable. And so now you've got games being played in, I think it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. So they've done a great job of making the games go faster, but now they're trying to make it even faster. And I don't know if they really need to do it. I mean, baseball's a pretty good game to watch now for me. But I guess we'll just have to see how much tinkering they can do before things start going sideways. But again, a whole other topic. Anyway, so it'll be fun to watch the Jays. I mean, they've made the playoffs last year, and that was a real disappointing end against the Twins there in the wild card when they only scored 1 run in 2 games, and their season ended. Their bats
were gone there for some reason. They just couldn't hit. They just couldn't hit.
Yeah, the power was very inconsistent last year. So yeah. So
I'm not sure they had an identity offensively. They weren't a power hitting ball club, and they weren't a station to station ball club. I think you've got to be one or the other, and I don't think they were either, quite frankly. So it was a disappointing season last year offensively, for sure.
Yeah. Well, a few weeks ago, we talked about Gary's most memorable moment of an event that he has seen, be it on TV or live. And today we thought we would talk about mine, because the 57-year anniversary of my event is coming up next week. And it was the first NHL game I ever saw. And I just got to tell you guys about it, because it was, obviously something that stayed with me since I was 7 years old. It was March 4, 1967, and the Leafs were hosting in Chicago at Maple Leaf Gardens. And, here's little 7-year-old me, big hockey fan since I could remember, but had only seen NHL games on our grainy black and white television in our living room in Preston, Ontario. And so one night my dad takes me down to Toronto, and, walking into that arena and seeing the ice for the first time. And then the Leafs come out in their, brilliant blue uniforms, and the Blackhawks come out in those classic uniforms, the white with, the hawk on the front. And it was just, the color was the first thing that blew me away. And then, of course, the sound of the crowd. I remember Bobby Hull that night. Every time Bobby Hull got the puck, racing down that left wing, the crowd, the sound of the crowd would just sort of build, and it was sort of a crescendo of sound. And before the game, I got some autographs. I got Mike Walton and Eddie Shack down at ice level during the pregame warm-up, and I got them to sign my program. And then the most special thing of the whole night, as it turned out, it was Terry Sawchuk's 100th career shutout. And that was pretty special. I mean, I was a big Terry Sawchuk and Johnny Bauer fan back in those days. And Sawchuk gets his 100th shutout. Leafs win 3-0. Sawchuk is the first star. Pete Stemkowski was the second star, and Tim Horton was the third star. And just what a memory, and something that's stayed with me forever. And again, 57 years ago next week, and pretty special night for me.
That's special, Randy. Did you? What was the cost of the ticket at that time? Do you think?
Oh gosh, I remember we were fairly high up. Is all I really remember. Honestly, I'm going to guess maybe $3, Lance.
$3.
I don't really remember. I one thing I do remember about that night. I think we went to a Harvey's right near Maple Leaf Gardens to get a burger, and it was one of the first Harvey's in Ontario. And my dad was talking about how these Harvey's burgers were really good. So I remember that too. And the Harvey's burger was probably 50 cents, if that.
Yeah. But it's funny because I know that when I first broke into the league, there was still the original Maple Leaf Gardens, and the Forum was still there, and the Blackhawks Arena was still there, the old stadium. And going into those buildings as a 7-year-old would be spectacular. But even myself coming in as a referee to do my first game in Maple Leaf Gardens, the first time I ever seen Maple Leaf Gardens, I remember that game vividly. It was amazing. So those original buildings always held something special at the time when you got a chance to be in those buildings. And so I think that'd be pretty remarkable for a 7-year-old. I know myself being out west, we only got to see it on TV. So
yeah.
Yeah, the Gardens was an iconic spot. There's no question, and in that era, I look back on it as well, and very, very fond memories of going to the Gardens. I can remember lining up outside, and they'd open the doors at 6:00, and you would run. It would be like a stampede. Coming into the Gardens because you were trying to get up to the end blues where you could stand up against the wall, and that was like a key spot. If you didn't have a seat, the end blues was the place to stand, and it was bedlam getting up there. And then once you got your spot, you weren't going to the washroom, or you weren't going to get a hot dog, because you'd never get it back. And that was so fun. I remember the bunker where Harold Ballard and King Clancy would sit for all the games. The hot stove lounge. We were in there a couple times with Laurier events. We'd go down. Interestingly, Harold Ballard Jr. and Bill Ballard, Harold's sons, both went to Laurier. Both played football at Laurier. And the greatest memory I have of the Gardens was Harold Jr. This would have been back probably in 1971. He took a bunch of us who played intramural hockey at Laurier, and he took us to the Gardens, and we played. We got out on the ice, and we had a pickup game at Maple Leaf Gardens, and it was like a huge, huge thrill. And I'll certainly never forget that. But it's cool. It's cool. The building is still there, and I'm glad they still have a rink upstairs where the PWHL is playing. It was quite a spot. And as you say, Lance, those original buildings, the Forum, they certainly were. They were legendary, and some of the games played there. Some of the greatest games of all times that we'll always remember.
Yeah. I got to go to the Gardens in Edmonton. It was called the Edmonton Gardens. The Oil Kings played there, but that was pretty special when you were a kid to go there and watch them play. I remember we used to sneak in all the time somehow to get in the building. We used to go up to these high rafters to go up there and watch the game from there and try to make sure the attendant didn't catch us. But that was the Edmonton Gardens in Edmonton with the Oil Kings. That was our Gardens.
Cool. Well, again, the thing I remember most about that night for me was just being so close to these players for the first time ever. And I mean, these were guys I'd only seen on TV in black and white. And before the game, I'm right down at ice level. And there's Jerry Sawchuk, there's Johnny Bauer, there's Dave Keon, there's Frank Mahovlich literally within 5-10 feet of me. And oh, you guys would like this. So this was pretty special. I got my program.
Oh, props now.
I got my program signed that night. I don't know if you can see it. Mike Walton and Eddie Shack have both signed it there over Frank Mahovlich's shoulder. So that was pretty neat. I've still got that. And again, Terry Sawchuk gets his 100th shutout. And a few years ago, my wife, knowing I'm a big Sawchuk fan, got me a replica Sawchuk mask that wasn't the real mask that he wore. Obviously, it's replica. It's fiberglass. It's apparently supposed to be exactly like the Sawchuk mask that he wore that night. So that's pretty special. And yeah, what a great memory. And I mean, I took my own kid to his first NHL game when he was 6. Knowing what that memory had meant to me when I was 7, I wanted to take Brody to a game when he was a kid as well. So we went to a Red Wings game when he was 6 years old. And hopefully that's something he'll remember forever too.
Showing that mask, when you think of it back then, Sawchuk was one of the few that wore them. I think Jacques Plante might have been the first.
Yeah.
But you think of his goalie partner there, Johnny Bauer. He never wore a mask, and how in the world back then, they were able to play that position. Glenn Hall, who'd play 65 games a year or 70 games a year out of the games they played, and how they didn't get seriously injured is remarkable. Remember Jerry Cheevers?
Oh yeah.
Remember his mask, and he'd have stitches. All the places he got hit on the mask. If he didn't have the mask on, they all would have been stitches in his face.
Yeah.
The game was different. The game was different back then, but every bit as exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Great memory. Let's move on. It was a good week of curling in Calgary for the Scotties Hearts. And we briefly touched on the Hearts last week, but in the end, it was a great week for Rachel Homan. Wins her first Scotties Hearts since 2017. Great week for Jennifer Jones, even though she came up a little bit short in the final and lost 5-4 to Homan in the final. And then it was Jones' last appearance. She's retiring now. But Gary, I know you're a big curling fan and you curl as well, and I'm sure you watched a lot of that Hearts. What did you think?
Yeah, I watched. I did watch a lot, and it was. I think it was appropriate that Homan and Jen Jones played in the final. I think they were the two best teams all week. Homan has had an unbelievable season. Boy, oh boy! I think he's maybe only lost 4 or 5 games all year, and she was going to be pretty tough to beat. They went right down virtually to the last rock of the final, and it was very, very exciting. It would have been wonderful to see Jen hoist the trophy for the 7th time, and a great way to go out. But I think the fans there in Calgary, they gave her a great ovation and certainly recognized what she's meant to the game and the career that she's had. She played this thing this year with 3 young kids. It was a new team totally for her, and to get to the final with that team was a great effort, and so it'll be sad to see her move on, but I guess she's going to still play mixed doubles with her husband. But I think we've seen the end of Jennifer Jones, and it was a remarkable career.
Yeah, that last game there, that was some curling in that last game. Coming down that last rock, she just about pulled it off. It was pretty close.
Yeah, if she gets that one in there, I don't think Homan. I think she's got it. It's only a matter of inches. But that's.
It was the whole tournament was run really well, and it had a lot of excitement in that whole tournament throughout the whole week.
Yeah. I've had the thrill of covering three Hearts over the years. London around the mid 80s. Then Waterloo hosted the Hearts in 1994. The Waterloo Rec Complex there where the Laurier teams played, Gary. That was 94. And that was won by Sandra Peterson, that great curler who passed away a few years later with cancer. And that was a great event. And then the Kitchener Auditorium hosted the Hearts in 2003, and Colleen Jones won that. And those events are just fantastic. One thing I wish the Hearts would come back to Southern Ontario more. In the last, I think, 18 years, it has only been in Southern Ontario one time, and that was in St. Catharines about maybe 7 years ago. And I wish it would come. I mean, you got some great curling markets down here, and Kitchener, London, Toronto, Hamilton, Windsor. I mean, you've got some great venues. It'd be wonderful to see that event come to Southern Ontario more often than it does.
Yeah, it certainly would. Interestingly, I spoke yesterday to Danielle Inglis, who was Ontario's other representative at the Scotties, and she won Ontario this year. Homan, she got a special invite, and I'm not sure the criteria for that, but she certainly deserved to be there. But regardless, Danielle won Ontario, and the connection there is she's a Laurier grad, and she won 2 national championships at Laurier. She's got a really decorated curling career behind her, and she now works for Curling Canada. And the reason I was speaking to her is I'm going to feature her on my Facebook page next Thursday as an outstanding Laurier athlete. But she had a very strong tournament, and it would be interesting to see her going forward. That's her first time actually curling at the Scotties. She's been there 2 other occasions as an alternate, but. Anyhow, it was a great experience for her.
A couple of years ago, I think the Ontario Scotties was held up your way, wasn't it, Gary? Wasn't it Port Elgin or somewhere up there?
Yeah, it was. It was in Port.
Well, hopefully we can get a national Scotties into Port Elgin or Southampton. Maybe you could help organize that.
Yeah, I'll get on that.
All right, fellas, we are pretty much out of time here. Yeah, we are, and another discussion with lots of topics, and it goes by quickly. And we always want to remind you to like, subscribe, and comment on our show here. And you can always reach us. It's very easy to do. You can reach us on an email at whaddyaknowaboutsports @gmail.com. And any feedback that we have had, we have all read it, and we have all appreciated it. And we've tried to make some changes, and we've tried to take some of your suggestions and make them work. And so please get a hold of us through that Gmail address. And next week, we've got something that's going to be a little bit different, a little bit special. And Gary, why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, next week we're going to have a special guest, the first guest that we've brought on, and he's someone that's certainly very, very well known in the KW region and really right across the country. David Tuffy Knight is going to be our guest next week, and I just spoke to him here a few days ago. He's down in Florida. Playing golf 2 or 3 times a week, but he was very agreeable to coming on. I heard his wife in the background when I asked him, and And she hollered, how long is the show? And I said, well, we usually are on there for about 40 minutes. And she said, that's not enough time. We'll just introduce Tuffy and just let him go. And but he's a great character. One of the great coaches in Laurier history and in youth sport history, football coach, and he'll be very entertaining. So I can't wait.
All right, looking forward to that.
Me too.
Fellas, have a great week, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday.